Hey guys, and welcome to another Tea Talk and Book Banter. I'm really excited to share the books that I read in the month of October because they were really interesting. So I attempted to do Victober, where you're challenged to read a whole bunch of like Victorian books and they have to meet different criteria and stuff like that. And then I also had a couple of other books that I just in general wanted to read for the month of October. I wanted to keep it kind of like creepy and dark for Halloween because you guys know, if you've been following my channel, I am a huge fan of Halloween and October and the fall. It's just like my favorite time of year. So I am going to get started by letting you know what tea I'm drinking, and this is actually really good. It's by Tazo, which is one of my favorite tea companies. Just so you guys know, these videos are never sponsored. Like, I don't think I've ever been paid by a company to make a video, ever. But I do talk about products that I'm using. So this has been one of my favorites this month. This is the Tazo Pumpkin Spice, and it has black tea, cinnamon, natural flavors, licorice root, ginger, cloves, black pepper, and cardamom. Is that how you say it? Cardamom? Well, anyway, it's really good. I like it a lot and have been drinking it a lot this whole month. And I like to put like a little bit of honey and whole milk pretty much in all of my teas. And it's just been really good. So that's what I am drinking today for my tea time. And now let's get to some of the book banter. Okay, first I'll start off with letting you know the two books that I challenged myself to read that I never got to, and one was actually a reread, and that was Dracula. I just love the cover of this book so much, and I was excited to read it for October, but I never got to it, unfortunately, but there's always next year, so I'll save it for then. I was most disappointed that I never got to The Silent Companion. I really, really wanted to read this book, but now that I've read so many dark and creepy books, I kind of don't, like, I was thinking I'll just read it in November, but I really just don't want to read anything like that right now. So I don't know, maybe I'll read it sometime over the winter months. If I don't, I can always read it next October, but I really wanted to read this, and a few of you guys actually recommended this book to me, so I really was hoping to get to it, but unfortunately I did not. So I was like an epic fail in the month of October. I only ended up reading 3 books, and I had 5 weeks. School started, I was doing Vlogtober, so that was keeping me really busy. So the time I normally would spend reading, I really spent editing and working on YouTube stuff. So I didn't get to read that much, but what I did read, I have a lot to say about. So Wuthering Heights, this was part of Victober. This is by Emily Bronte. They should have a label for books like this where they just put like a big red label on it that says pure misery. Like, this book was so miserable. From what I remember from the movie that I watched a long time ago, I thought it was more of a love story. The main character is Heathcliff, and there is a woman, he ends up living with her family. Her name is Catherine, and as children, they become the best of friends. They grow up together, and then their lives kind of drift apart, and she gets married to another man, but he's in love with her. But you can't even like him because he's just the most horrible person. And I really wanted to watch reviews of what other booktubers had to say about this book, because I know this is a really popular book and a lot of people really like it, but I have a hard time reading a book where I do not like any of the characters. Like, every single character in this book was horrible in their own way. The woman who pretty much narrates and tells the story is like the housemaid, and she grew up with them from children through adulthood up until like present time in the book. So she really knows all of the characters, and she tells all of the stories of her experiences with them and things that she's witnessed of this family throughout her life. So, I mean, she really doesn't have a strong character per se where you could love or hate her. But even in the descriptions of things that she did and how she reacted to certain situations, she wasn't like the best person in the world either. So this was a hard book to get through. It really was. Luckily, I found a great Audible that I was able to kind of listen to the Audible and then read the book and then listen to the Audible. So it broke it up a little bit, but it was just miserable and dark, and everybody was so full of hate. and I wouldn't recommend it. This is right up there with The Pearl, which I also hated. I don't like to read books that make me feel miserable, that put me in a miserable setting where there is no happiness and all of the people are horrible to each other all of the time. Like, why? Like, what is the point in that? I don't know. I guess I'm having an issue with Victorian literature because it is all so dark. Why is it all so dark and miserable? Like, is there no happiness in Victorian days? I don't know, but that's how I felt about Wuthering Heights. It could not be over soon enough. I had to finish it. Like, I was so involved. I felt like I had to see it through to the end, but let me tell you, I could not wait to get it over with, and that's a sad way to approach a book. On a lighter note, Coraline, I knew I was gonna love it because I love the movie. You guys know how much I love Coraline. You guys know I was the other mother for Halloween last year, if you've been following my channel for a long time, and my daughter was Coraline. If you're not familiar with the storyline of this, basically this little girl moves into a big old Victorian house, and there is like this secret door that she finds, and the door brings you into another world, but the other world is basically a copy of your world, except everything appears to be better. So her mom is nicer, her dad is nicer, she has nicer things, she's very well fed, you know, big beautiful Thanksgiving dinner, pancakes in the morning, like everything is just wonderful except for one big thing, which I don't want to spoil the book for you guys in case you ever decide to read it. But Coraline by Neil Gaiman, really, really great story. The book was a lot more basic than the movie. I feel like the movie had a lot more going on, and I do prefer the movie to the book, which is very unusual. Usually when I read a book, I almost always like the book better than the movie because you just get a better insight of the characters and what they're thinking and feeling and things like that. But since this is a children's story, it is pretty basic. It's a very quick and easy read. It was perfect to read for the month of October, and I really, really did enjoy it. So I would recommend this for children and adults alike, definitely. And I just want to show you some of the creepy illustrations in here too. I really did like some of these pictures. I'll try to show you different pictures from what I showed you during Vlogtober because I know I showed some of it then too. But really nicely done, I think. There's the other mother serving her turkey dinner. So with the button eyes, that's what Coraline is known for. If you guys are at all familiar with the characters in Coraline, they have those creepy button eyes. So definitely a great read. Okay, and the last book that I read in October, which was also part of Victober, was The Picture of Dorian Gray. This was also a reread for me, but I read it maybe in high school, possibly in college. Either way, I did not remember very much about it at all. I knew like the whole concept of the book, but I didn't remember how it ended, and I didn't really remember much of the storyline. This book I actually really did enjoy. As dark as it was, I have to say most books, most of the time, I am disappointed with the ending. I always feel like the ending either leaves me hanging or it doesn't resolve things for me. I'm just never happy with the ending of a book. I always just feel like it just stops mid-sentence and it's over, and I don't know, I'm always frustrated at the end of a book most times. The end of this book was so satisfying to me. I'm not going to tell you guys in case you haven't read it yet, but I loved the way this book ended. I was like, yes, that's exactly what needed to happen. Now I feel like everything was worth investing my time in reading and learning these characters, because also, I don't know, were all the people in Victorian times miserable, horrible people? Because most of the characters in here were pretty awful as well. You have Dorian, who is so self-absorbed and in love with himself, it's like ridiculous. And then you have Basil and Lord Henry. Basil is the artist who is infatuated with Dorian. He's just so inspired by his beauty and his innocence that he paints this amazing picture, very lifelike, of Dorian Gray. And Basil is just obsessed with Dorian, and he loves how he really inspires him to do his best work. And then you have Lord Henry, who is just like such a character. He has zero morals. He is like the devil himself. He's just, his views on things and the way that he talks about things are so awful that it actually makes you laugh to yourself. You're like, could anyone actually be like this terrible? But it's almost, to me, it was comical. He might have been my favorite character because he was just so interesting, and the things that he said were just so terrible that it made you more interested to hear what he had to say about everything. So that part of the book was a lot of fun. Again, I don't want to share too many details of the story, but the main concept of the book, which I think most people probably know, and if you want to know nothing at all about this book, just like fast forward a minute or two from here. But basically, Basil, who is the artist, paints this beautiful picture of Dorian that is so lifelike, and Dorian is kind of poisoned by Lord Henry into believing that youth is like the most important thing in the world, and how horrible it is when you grow older and everything changes and you just don't look as good as you once did. And he just really is a huge influence on Dorian and the way that he thinks about things. So Dorian decides that he doesn't like this painting anymore because it's only a picture of what he once was, and it makes him even more depressed of the thought of growing older. And what happens is the painting itself starts to age, but Dorian does not. And he is like 30 and 40 years old, and he has not changed at all from the time he was like 18 years old. He always looks incredibly young, and people think that he sold his soul to the devil, or there's some kind of black magic going on. How does this man never age? And Dorian is so self-absorbed and so selfish, and all he cares about are the pleasures in life and, you know, having complete gluttony and satisfaction in everything, to the point where when bad things happen or when he does bad things, he has no conscience. There are no consequences. He is able to just walk away and not care about it at all in the least. And as he gets older, his conscience starts to weigh on him, and things from his past start to really burden him. And yeah, so it's a really great ending. That's all I have to say. I did enjoy this book. Okay, of course somebody is like blowing their leaves right now, but this is my only opportunity to film this video, which needs to be edited and uploaded for tomorrow morning. So hopefully it's not bothering you guys too much. I'm sorry for that if it is, but I have to carry on. Okay, so I'm excited to share with you guys what I'm going to be reading over the holiday months, and what I'm going to do is combine November and December because I don't know what the holiday season is going to bring, and I don't know how busy I'm going to be. So I want to make sure I have some books to talk about at the end, and plus I want to give myself plenty of time to read all of the holiday related books that I'm excited about. And the books I'm going to show you well exceed what I'm actually capable of reading, so whatever I don't read this winter, I will likely read next holiday season. But I just want to have options. I don't want to have to feel like, you know, the last couple of months I've been doing all of these challenges and things, and I felt like I had to read whatever books I had previously selected. I want to give myself a little bit of flexibility over the holiday months and just enjoy reading. And not only that, I want to savor it more. I don't want to feel like I have to rush through books because I need to get it done, because that's no fun, and I don't get as much from the book when I treat it that way. So I'm going to take my time with these books, and if I only read a handful, that's fine. And then probably like the end of December, beginning of January, I'll share with you my tea talk and book banter. Take a little bit of a break for the month of December with all of the holiday content I have coming up for you guys. After the dark, gloomy, depressing Victober books that I read, I decided I'm gonna lighten things up. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Winter Street series by Elin Hilderbrand. These are books that take place in Nantucket at a bed and breakfast, And this family has this huge thing going on at their bed and breakfast every holiday season, this big like dinner with music and lots of food, and the house is beautifully decorated, and the whole family is involved in these stories, which is really cool. So I'm just reading the first book. I'm actually 100 pages into it already, and it kind of reads like a Hallmark story. Like if you guys ever watch the Hallmark Channel around the holidays and you like those types of movies, I feel like that's what these books are going to be. So of course I bought the entire collection, and there's actually another one. I don't know if you could see it here, Winter in Paradise. I think that's the last one that she wrote. So obviously I'm probably not going to read all of these books this holiday season, but I really am enjoying it, and it's just like such light reading, and just it brings you right into the holiday season with the description of the bed and breakfast and all of the decorations and the things that they're cooking and just all of that stuff. I think it's really, really great to read for the holidays. So we have, the first book is called Winter Street. And then the next one in the series is Winter Solstice. And then you have Winter Storms. And then Winter Stroll. So that's the books that are in the series. I don't know if this Winter in Paradise is like considered part of this series. I'm not really sure exactly what this particular book is about, but it very well may be the last book of the series. In any event, I'm excited to read those, and I'll kind of mix it up. Maybe I'll read like one of those and then something else, and then go back to one of the Winter Street books, because they are a lot of fun. And like I said, just very light and relaxing, and just more like laid back, not so deep and dark, which I really am enjoying. And then I have a couple of classics that I would like to read. So I have Christmas Stories by Charles Dickens, and I want to read A Christmas Carol. I don't think I've ever read the adult rendition of it. I've read the children's one plenty of times, and I'm all too familiar with the story with Scrooge, and I just love A Christmas Carol. Again, I feel like it's going to be dark because it's Victorian, and they just tend to write their stories very dismal and dark and creepy, but I still want to read it. So it's one of a series of stories in this book, and that's going to be on my reading list for December. And then another classic, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This is a book that I know I read a very long time ago, and I also know the story well. But I'm still excited to read it anyway, and I know the movie's coming out, I think in November, so I'm hoping that I can read it before I see the movie and then see the movie. The movie has a great cast. I forget who's in it, but I remember seeing a preview of it and thinking to myself, I am super excited to see it this holiday season. So this is another one that I hope to get to. You guys know I love children's stories as well. I found this book called The Vanderbeekers of 141st Street. And it's by Karina Jan Glosser. So the Vanderbeekers' home, a humble red brownstone with a weather vane that spun on windy days, sat in the exact middle of the street. Among the many people who had visited, there was quite a bit of debate about what it was like, but general agreement about what it was not. Calm, tidy, boring, or predictable. Another YouTuber reviewed this book a while back, and it sounded really, really like something I would enjoy. Oh look, I even still, I put like a little holiday bookmark in there. That's cute. Forgot that I even did that. So, and what I like about it is it's written by date. So it begins on December 20th. And towards the end, you can see it has December 24th. So likely it's going to end, I believe, on December 25th. It brings you straight through the week of Christmas. So I don't really remember anything about this book, but I do remember that it sounded like a lot of fun, and definitely something that's going to be a quick and easy read and very enjoyable. Maybe I'll actually read this with Madison if she's up for it. So I think this will be a fun book to read around Christmas time. And then finally, if you guys have been following my Tea Talk and Book Banter, you know that I belong to a local book club in my town. And this month we decided to read The Curious Charms of Arthur Pepper. And this book is by Phaedra Patrick. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Phaedra Patrick. So there's this old man, he's like 69 years old, and his wife has passed away, and he starts going through some of her old items on the, I believe it's the year anniversary of her death. And he finds this gold charm bracelet, and The bracelet brings him to start researching her past before him, and it brings him to traveling to London and Paris and India, and he goes on all of these travels to find out about her past in connection with this charm bracelet that he found. So it just sounds like a really fun read. Some of the things that we read in book club, a lot of people did not enjoy at all, so I think this will be a nice, fun, light book. And I know a lot of people were complaining too that some of the stories that we read were kind of really like heavy and, you know, really deep and troubling in a way, you know, reading about the Holocaust and things like that previously. And this will just be such a nice change from that, I think. And don't you just love the cover of this book? You guys know I'm like really into covers of books, but I just think it's really a cute cover with all the different paintings, and I guess it's showing the locations of all of his travels and all of his journeys and trying to find out about his deceased wife's past. So I think this will be a really fun book to read sometime between now and the end of December. Okay, so I hope that you guys enjoyed another Tea Talk and Book Banter. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what you're reading this upcoming holiday season. I'm sure there are so many great holiday relevant books to read that I don't even know anything about yet, so I would love for you to share in the comments. Maybe I'll put it on my list for the next holiday season for sometime next year. And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys coming back and watching. This is like a new video that I'm attempting to see if you guys are going to like it and enjoy hearing a little bit about the books that I've been reading. I'm still a little bit weird about like what I should say and how much I should say and what I should share. I just want you to get like a little taste about what the book is about without giving away too much. So I hope I haven't been an epic fail with that. Hopefully not. And I hope you guys are all having a great week, and I will see you real soon. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Take care. Bye.